All right, welcome back to Blue by 90. I'm Justin, joined by Tanner today. I'm live from Zingerman's Deli here in Ann Arbor. Shout out Zingerman's. They are a proud partner of us here at Blue by 90. We actually just finished up a little NIL photo shoot for them with some of the Michigan student athletes. We had baseball players in here, softball, field hockey, women's hockey, men's and women's soccer. So had a good time here. They've been great partners to us. I'm actually I'm going to take a giant bite here. This is the number 73 Carbs Tenacious Tenure, I believe it is. It is. I mean, look at that. Look at that. That is. If you were not hungry before, you are now.
Yeah, it's kind of in the morning still. I had breakfast, and now I would like some sort of deli sandwich from Zingerman's.
I mean, you don't get a sandwich like that pretty much anywhere else in the world. So
No, Ann Arbor is very lucky to have as many good deli spots as they do, and Zingerman's obviously tops the list to a lot of folks. So shout out to them. I might have to give me some here soon, Justin. We might have to make a stop at Zingerman's.
Friday before when you're back up for the game. I think we might have to make a little trip here, check it all out.
Get the Reuben. That's my go-to. The Reuben, absolutely.
Reuben. I'm looking at the wall here in Zingerman's, and it says, it's a quote. It says, "The Reuben is killer," from President Barack Obama. So, I mean, if a former president says it, I mean, that's that's pretty good.
I'm just a guy. I think it's killer. So I might know more about food than Barack. I mean,
that's true.
So
He's
might
been
be
with like Anthony Bourdain, though.
It's fair. Yeah, so, but living in Ann Arbor, food. There's just so many good spots in A2, man. It's unbelievable.
It's a foodie town. All right, well, that's our positive segment for today. But it might end there. No, I think let's talk Michigan, Oklahoma. We were just talking about it pre-show before we jumped on here. The Michigan game versus Oklahoma combined with the Lions game on Sunday, and then watching JJ McCarthy and the Vikings on Monday. It was like hot take central of everybody just firing off tweet after tweet and text after text, and it was just complete doom and gloom. Everybody's going to lose every game ever, and the season is over before it even started. And so, starting with Michigan on Saturday, I put this out there yesterday on our Twitter as well. Listen, it wasn't good. Let's be honest with ourselves, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that we had a great showing. To be fully honest. It was, you watch this in the Lions game Sunday too, but it was like you got your butt whooped on in pretty much every aspect of the game outside of like a couple turnovers that actually kept you in it. And so I think that's the start for me, is just like it was pretty disappointing because I don't know that we've seen Michigan get manhandled like that. The offensive line was really getting no push, in my opinion. Even the defensive line, who we have obviously come to love, and every year for the past 5, I thought they were non-existent at times. And so I just want to start there with just being out physical.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was more schematic than just straight up getting dominated. I mean, there were some moments that weren't great, but there was also some moments that, on that 75-yard touchdown run, the offensive line did a great job. Justice did a great job of finding the lanes and making a cutback, and he was gone. But I think when I look at on the offensive line, I felt like a lot of times, because Brent Venables wants to do a lot of different things. He wants to confuse young quarterbacks. That's what he's been good at in college football for 20 plus years as a coordinator and as a head coach now at Oklahoma. I feel like there was a lot of times where there'd be 7 guys in the box and Michigan was determined to run into a brick wall. And you don't set your offensive line up for success when you do that. There was a lot of times where I'd see play action and the linebackers were off the ball and kind of prepared for a pass play. Also, the play actions never seemed to actually fake to the running back. I don't know if that was miscommunication. He was trying to leak out to pass pro immediately. You're not fooling anybody when you do that.
Yeah, even the can we talk about the spinning around thing? Like on every fake handoff, right? On every play action. You know, I'm not I'm obviously not in the in practice or in the offensive meetings here. It just feels like it's a lot for a freshman quarterback to do. It's like a lot of risk, like with very little reward, in my opinion. And to your point, like it didn't seem like he was spinning the right way, or justice was going the wrong way, whatever. So I don't know. That was just something that I saw. That's like a super little, minor thing out of everything that we're, talking about. But just your point, I think, yes, it was. I felt like we were out physical. Like there were times where we wanted to be the big bully that we've been in the past and just, hey, stack the box. We don't care. We're just going to run it through your face anyway. And we just don't have that offensive line right now. Is what it looks like to me. But then, yeah, to your point, I thought that, Brent Venables just dominated in terms of a game plan on both sides of the ball, really. And so for, a young and newer offense, it was not a good showing. And I think that is, I don't know that you can really like pinpoint it on one person. It felt like the group as a collective, really just they were not on the same page a lot. They didn't, the offensive line was not picking up the right guys at times. And then, quarterback to running back to receivers, just, making plays, right? At the end of the day, you got to make plays. And not enough plays were made.
No, there weren't. It was tough. I think, there's been a lot of folks that are unhappy with the coaching staff and, to a certain extent, rightfully so. I think the thing that I think about a lot is you go back, and I don't want to disparage anybody, but you go back to 2023, and there was not a lot of recruiting effort being put in by the head coach at that time. Love everything that happened under Jim Harbaugh and the national championship, and always going to be a huge fan of Jim Harbaugh. But I think you're starting to see, you saw it last year a little bit. You didn't really see any elite sophomores. And there have been a couple guys that have been pretty solid from that 23 class, but it's not up to the standard where you need to be if you want to compete for Big Ten championships. And so when that's your junior year class right now, I think you're starting to see that. So I think in 24 and 25, especially, last year's class with Sharon's first full year, they really made a priority to, get those big time players on the offensive line. And so I don't know if it's going to get better this year. I will say I really liked what I saw from Jake Guarnara. Butchered the hell out of his name, I think. I'm gonna have to say it a couple times to get used to it. But yeah. I thought he got some movement. He's probably he's more physically gifted than the current starting center. Crippen's a very smart guy, kind of compared him to Vastardis a little bit, but I don't know if, in Crippen's defense, if he's got a guy like Zach Zinter or Trevor Keegan to either side, right? So yeah. I think it might just be a personnel thing, and you can't really blame that on Sharon. Yes, he was here. Yes, he was the offensive line coach, co-OC, but he doesn't really have a lot of control over the way the recruiting kind of strategy was put in place when he was here under Harbaugh.
And I think to your point on that, everyone's like, well, he's the O-line coach. He needs to build that up. That's how we win football game, blah, blah, blah. I think that again, people forget, okay, you have I know it seems like you have Joe Lynn and you have infinite NIL money and to an extent, obviously, like that may be true. But the reality is it's finite. It is, you have a certain dollar amount, and right now, I think where Sharon is and Sean McGee and the staff are what they're trying to do is put a ton of money into recruiting for the future, right? You saw that in what they've done. They closed an amazing, still not closed, but they have an amazing class right now built, right? So they're putting a ton of money towards that, and also trying to put a ton of money towards the portal. And a lot of times it's hard to do both. And so, I think that's where I think that everyone just always thinks like, oh, it's just easy to go. I think people get like the Dodgers, Yankees payroll. They see that and like, yeah, everybody can just pay $700 million for Shohei Ohtani, and that's just like, I know Michigan has money and whatever, and you want them to keep up with Ohio State and Oregon, but I'm just saying it's not as easy as it may seem. And so when you're trying to do both of those, it's very difficult. And so, I think that you would hope that some certain guys would develop, quicker. I think that they definitely need to be more deep on that offensive line. And you know what? They're going to figure it out too. Here's the thing. I think to your point, going back to the schematics over physicality, was I thought, I am concerned with the lack of push that Michigan does seem to get. When it's 3rd and 2 or 4th and 1, it's like we used to be able to just Blake Corum nose dive, and it's an automatic first down, and that doesn't seem to be the case right now. But I think that this whole line does not seem right now like they are like completely on the same page, and so I think that is stuff that can improve, right? So there are certain things that are just going to be what it is. I think that the line being on the same page can improve throughout the year, and I'm hoping that to be the case. And ultimately, I think, we've been a little bit all over the place right now, recapping this game, but it's a long season, right? Like, at the end of the day, going back to the hot takes piece of like, you know what? Like, yeah, some shit like should have gone a lot better. And you were hoping to see a better product that was out there. But at the end of the day, it's a road game with a freshman quarterback with, 7 new offensive starters. And they had a great defense. And, let's talk about John Mateer for a second. I mean, dude, he's the Heisman favorite right now. So he held them to 24 points and had a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter. So could it really, is it as bad as it seems? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and the reason I bring up, recruiting and kind of context is because this is not a national championship year for Michigan, right? This is not the year that you buy in all the way with your NIL, right?
Here's the problem with that. I'll let you finish once I finish, but here's the problem with that is that Bryce's showing in week 1 made everybody think that, like, oh my God, we've got the guy.
Us too. I was like, holy shit.
For sure.
Yeah. And then you realize you come back down to earth a little bit and you're like, all right, he is a true freshman. He's 18 years old, right? There's going to be growing pains. I think a lot of folks, like my kind of higher end expectations for this year coming in were 10-2 with continued improvement with Bryce, with the passing game. And that's still on the table, right? I think a lot of folks, had this penciled in as a loss, or at least a lot of the more realistic folks. I know I predicted a win. I was way off when I predicted. I don't know if I did on this show. I did it on Blue by the Numbers, but like I said, I'd rather have hype and buy into stuff than be just completely pessimistic all the time, right? So I'm still glass half full kind of guy. But I do think it's important because, we got to see continued growth. We got to see improvement in the passing game. We want to keep everyone happy, right? But this is year 1's not the window, right? It's next year and it's year 3. So I think you're just having that context of, hey, this is something that needs to be rebuilt. And to your point about NIL, I don't know if Michigan fans remember, but like October 2024, people were just incessantly bitching about NIL and the lack thereof. So it's not been that long of like having, big boosters in the form of one of the most wealthy man and his wife in the world, who just so happened to go to the University of Michigan. So again, context in the grand scheme of things, I think this game for Bryce, and I'll get to the defense and Mateer, but I think this game for Bryce was probably a really good thing to go out on the road, to learn, to fight through it, to battle that adversity. It wasn't fun, wasn't pretty, wasn't great, right? But you learn from that. So now to your point about the physicality on the other side of the ball, I think I don't know. There just wasn't a lot of pass rush, but I wonder if that was by design to try to keep Mateer from just getting out. Because he, even if they did that, he still got out and ran. But yeah, he's like Baker Mayfield, dude. Just making throws on the run, balling. Like, not a lot you could do.
It was also like Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, he made a lot of throws. There's a lot of open guys, unfortunately. I think that RPO really sliced up Michigan's defense. Not something that Wink's used to seeing, right? Not a lot of that in the NFL. And honestly, the team that was running it the most, probably the team that he was coordinating with the Ravens before he went to the Giants. So he probably doesn't have a ton of experience in game going against something like that. So, but yeah, I think just the physicality from Oklahoma. I think the their willingness to run material. I'll say this on the Oklahoma side. You can't do that every game this season because they ran him 19 times, and he's a dog. He's a football player, and I really like his arm. I mean, he loses his mechanics sometimes, and that's why he threw that pick to JJ Metcalf. But man, he made some throws that like just killer backbreaking throws. Like it's 14-7. You're trying to get off the field. Brandon Hillman misses the sack, and then he throws downfield to get it first and goal or whatever, or first and 10 to the 15 after he stepped out of bounds. And he just made some big time throws, man. And it was tough.
Yeah, I mean, to that point of that play, using that as an example, I felt like Michigan had the opportunities to make big plays a lot and just didn't. It's missed tackles, it's a missed sack here and there. It is, you have
drop pick.
You have dropped interception by Jair, right? Which would have been an unbelievable play if he did it.
Still a great play by him because that was a touchdown. If Mateer floats as a touchdown, but he made a great play to just get the ball on the ground.
Yeah, and then you have just some miscues, right? Like Zach Marshall's open down the sideline, has nobody in front of him, and Bryce, tries to check down to I can't remember who it was that was in the.
I don't know so there's two throws to Zach Marshall. So there's the one on like I don't know if it was a post coming across the middle or if it was a corner route. I can't remember. But Bryce misses him by maybe 6 inches. And
that one to me is probably like that's your third string tight end who's
right. You're thinking Marlin, right? You worked it with Marlin all camp, and it's that's Marlin is probably a catch. The one on the wheel route, I don't know because he had pressure in his face. I don't know. I mean, his arm's so strong. I don't know if he was trying to get it there and he got hit. I couldn't tell, but yeah, he was open for at least I don't know how fast Zach Marshall is, but at least a big gain, if not a touchdown. And he also has the one to McCauley, which there was a couple. So there was the one, I think it was an RPO, and McCauley had one-on-one with no safety help, and that corner was kind of back and forth, didn't know. And I think if McCauley was running like a post, and if Bryce just threw it in the middle of the field, it would have been a touchdown, and he threw it out of bounds. I just think miscommunication. And then the other RPO where they picked up the flag, Donovan's blocking, so just miscommunication. I'll say this real quick on Bryce and Donovan. Throw it up to one. That should be part of the offense like 5 times a game.
Dude, especially if you're down there and it's one-on-one, like, hey, let's do that. And from what I gathered, it sounded like Bryce did try to change the play, which then McCauley didn't get it, and then that led to him and Bryce and Justice getting into it on the sideline, which again, that is a non-issue for me.
People try to make that into a huge deal, and like after the touchdown, they're celebrating, doing their handshake, and it's like, I don't know if people that comment on that stuff have ever been athletes, like even at a lower level, like your emotions run high in sports. And if you can't, like, I'm sure there was a lot of people just like, trolling and like, oh, look at this. But like, I think there probably were some people who truly believe that trouble in paradise. And it's like, dude, they're having a conversation, and yeah, it's animated. Yeah, it's heated. Yeah, they're probably pissed at each other. But that happens all the time. A lot of the times you don't see it. It happens behind closed doors. Sometimes it happens on the sideline. So I couldn't care less about that. I can't believe that ever became a huge deal.
Well, I mean, it's Michigan. It's Bryce Underwood. Everyone's going to post it to get clicks, and then overreaction. I bet you, if we had a Venn diagram of people who posted that Trouble in Paradise or Bryce and Justice also posted that JJ McCarthy was the worst quarterback on planet Earth. It's all those people are in the middle
4
of that
drives. Yeah.
So, which let's touch on that just for a second before we get to expectations for Bryce moving forward. I mean, JJ, like, dude, I'll be honest, it looked abysmal early on, like, and they didn't have anything doing in any facet of the game. And then just gamer JJ turns it on after 3 quarters of nothingness, had the pick six where, most other rookie quarterbacks are going to completely put their tail between their legs and say, all right, this sucks. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's get this game over with, get to the film and get to next week. Instead, he completely turns it on, and it's just JJ being JJ. And watch the coaching staff, watch his teammates when he's scoring. Obviously they're pumped because they're icing and winning the game, but they're happy for him. And it's just like, for a 22-year-old kid, young kid, you see how many quarterbacks have we seen come into this league as young guys and just completely shit the bed? Especially early on. Literally almost all of them. And their teammates sometimes are not on their side because they're young and they don't have the composure. I mean, at 22 years old, JJ just has it. If you ever could define it, it's him.
Well, and I think going back to the Bryce and Justice thing, little animated, little fiery, a little bit of anger in there, I'm sure, from both parties. But I think it's actually it's more of a good sign to me than a bad sign that they can have those conversations on the sideline, right? Yeah. So, and you can, and Bryce is 18 years old. He's a freshman, right? We all know these things, but I think that their ability to have that conversation, it was a yelling match, but like, that's just how it is. And he's going to learn from that to maybe approach those conversations with a different tone or a different style in the future. So yeah, I think people, again, to your point of that Venn diagram, like, it is okay to have some struggles, right? Like, football is a really, really tough sport. We talked about this pre-show. Like, some people are not built to be fans of football teams. You're just not. Because yes, I live and die on every snap. But I also feel like I, along with a lot of people, have the foresight to understand that it's a long process to become a really good football team and become, your football players to become good football players. It's not going to happen overnight. You can't just, I saw some folks like I'm done with this team. I'm like, dude, it's week 2 of the Bryce Underwood era. You were so excited for this kid, and then you have one roadblock, one speed bump, and it's over. So I just think more people need to understand how difficult of a game this is, and that it's not going to happen overnight. Like, we got out in front of our skis last week, Justin. We were like, holy shit, this guy's the man, and he is. But it's going to take time for him, especially in those road environments, to feel comfortable, confident, just being able to communicate with his teammates in the most efficient way possible with that noise from the crowd, all those sorts of things. So,
well, and I think, to be honest, 2023 Michigan warped all of our brains. I think it's just like, including ourselves, right? Where like you really pretty much never see that in football in general, right? Like, there are very few times where you see a team go that dominant. And when we watched it with our own eyes for our own team, and you see, pretty much excellence at every single position, and mistake, like, you go back to somebody I was talking to, and I want to talk a little bit about Sharon too at some point here. But you go back to Jim Harbaugh football in 2023, and it's like, it's essentially mistake free. Like, nobody ever made a outlandish mistake. If it was very minor, or they cleaned it up almost immediately. But like, zero penalties all the time. You had very few turnovers. So those, like, that to me, it warped our brains because it is just different. We're not there. The coaching staff is not Jim Harbaugh's coaching staff. Like, we have to say, and that's not a shot at Sherrone Moore, to be honest. It's just that, like, people don't understand how freaking good at coaching football Jim Harbaugh is. He's unreal at the details and has done it for a long time. And his staff was unbelievable, right? And so not only was it that, but you also then had, how many draft picks that were all unbelievable in their own right too. And so right now, what we're looking at is newer coaching staff that, doesn't have that discipline, doesn't have that experience quite yet. And on the player side, the same thing. right? And so I think it sucks because, you want to be 2023 Michigan every year. There's no doubt about that. Like, these guys want to, but it just can't be the expectation. And so to move on to the expectation for Bryce, it's like, all right, maybe he's not going to be unbelievable from day one, from game 2 on. Maybe there are going to be some growing pains for a young 18-year-old. Maybe there are going to be, some things some mistakes made, some miscues, some miscommunication, that type of stuff. So where are you at now? Like, all right, we're 1-1, still, a 1-1 with a loss to, a top 15 team that is, I think, probably going to be really good in the SEC. That statement may come back to bite us. I don't know, but what are your expectations for Bryce, specifically him moving forward, and then the team as a general too?
Yeah, I think it's just improving week after week. Seeing making mistakes and then not making them again, learning from those missed opportunities, learning from those poor decisions. I don't think there was a ton of poor decisions. There were some throws that he probably would have liked back, but I think just seeing continuous growth from him, maturity. Just, again, seeing different styles of defense, seeing different disguises, and just continuing to learn from each of these opportunities. Because, again, you're really building for something in 2026 and 2027, right? You're not building towards a national championship this year. It'd be great. Sure as hell would love it. It'd be a lot of fun, but it's not going to happen in 2025, right? So, and I don't think any of us expected that, but at least here on this platform, maybe some Michigan fans think Michigan's going to win every single game, every single year. I don't know.
That is a good portion of the message boards and social media. Maybe not good portion. I think. Sorry to cut
loud
you
minority.
Off. Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. The loud minority, and a lot of people that don't even believe that, they tweet like they do. You know what I mean? Like, it's like like you said last night. It's like sometimes in our group chat, you fire things off that maybe you don't fully, believe, but it's just in the moment type stuff. That's what social media is. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. So, aside, beyond Bryce, I want to see the offensive line continue to gel. I'd like for them to, this week against Central Michigan, take it as an opportunity to find the best 5. Again, I thought Jake Guanera, I thought he was moving people late in the game. I thought he looked a lot better. Obviously, you have the injury to Gio, which you hate to see. I'd love for Gio to come back and just be more consistent. You see flashes where, in going back to last year and in 2022 when he played a lot, like, you see flashes and you see a guy who's got all Big Ten ability. It's just that consistency. Would love to see that from the offensive line. Love to get Marlon Klein healthy. If he's fully healthy this week, play great. But if not, let's get ready for Lincoln, Nebraska in a couple weeks. I want to see him continue to rehab. I want to see. I said this before the season. Like, I think, and they did a good job of it against New Mexico for the most part. But I think Bryce should throw the ball 35, 40 times this week. Truthfully, because not only does he need the repetitions, so do his wide receivers.
You're saying this week?
Yes,
I like
Central Michigan. Yes,
I like that. Not in week out. I don't think.
No, against Central Michigan.
This
and if
week, I like that.
And if you are playing Northwestern or Purdue this year, I think they need to throw it 35 to 40 times. If you are up 21 points or you're up 28 or whatever against those types of teams in the Big Ten that are on your schedule, you need to rep Bryce in the pass game.
Yep.
At minimum, you need to,
and
because he needs more. I just want him to get as many live reps as possible against Big Ten opponents and FBS opponents in general. Because he needs it, and it's going to help his development.
His own defense.
Absolutely, it's gonna be great for his development. One of the things I think about with Jim Harbaugh is they would just put the offense away, and you're up 45 against UConn in 2022 or whatever. It's like, yeah, you don't want to get anybody hurt, but you need that repetition, because you lose out on if you throw it 5 times in a fourth quarter versus not throwing it 5 times with your starting quarterback, for example. That's over the course of the season. That's 60 passing attempts. That's 60 opportunities to see something different, to see a defense try to disguise something, or work a concept against cover 2 or 3 or whatever the concept might be from the defense. So you got to take advantage of these opportunities. Again, week 1, I thought they did a great job of just getting Bryce his feet wet. I think you really just need to sling it, especially if you're up 28-0 in the second quarter. Throw the football. Like, I don't want to run it up. That's not what I'm hoping that they're trying to do, but throw the ball.
What about running the ball? What are your takes on that, where a lot of people want to see Bryce use his legs? And then you saw Sharon Moore with his quote yesterday in the presser, where he said, yes, we plan to use him at some point more.
Better have two.
You better have 2 quarterbacks. Yeah.
Yeah, probably makes quarterback room feel great. I don't think that's something you should say. I mean, we all understand it. I think there's a different way to phrase that without just completely shitting on your quarterback room. We'll talk about moving forward section, I guess. I have some things that, it's not all sunshine and rainbows for me. Maybe I made it seem like that in the first, half hour here, but it's not. And there's a lot of things that I think can be improved upon from Sharon and his staff.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think I'll let you expand on it here. But I think I'm somewhere in the middle of there is true cause for concern in pretty much every facet, right? I think our offense, our defense, our special teams, our coaching, everybody has made, pretty critical mistakes here in 2 weeks. And ultimately didn't get a win in Norman because of that. I also am somewhere in between that and like total doom and gloom. Like, I'm not to total doom and gloom yet, like some people are. I'm just like writing this year off completely and 7-5 or 8-4, whatever. I'm not. I could get there. I have no idea. Right? We have no idea how this is going to play out, but I'm not there yet. But I'll let you expand on what's your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So I think, just from the head coach's perspective, I thought the 4th down decisions were horrible in this game. I think and Dom missed one, pretty rare, right? Shout out Chris Fowler for the absolute jinx on the call, by the way. And then they laughed about it. And it's not real, but it's funny. A little annoying.
Annoying. I mean, yeah, like that. Sorry. That's something too. They're just like, I don't know. That shit doesn't happen ever. And it happens. So, because
if you have that field goal, that changes the dynamic of the game a little bit, and you're a little closer. And but again, they had a couple drives where they were able to move the ball. They had a drive that started off of that muffed punt, and I just felt like it's kind of a double-edged sword, because the offense is not moving the ball, but the offense isn't moving the ball, right? So you're in 4th and 2, and it's like you're going to need touchdowns to win this game. And I just felt like the 4th down decision making, and that's been something I've kind of had an issue with. Which is surprising, because in the 2023 Ohio State game, when he was the acting head coach, I thought were perfect on their 4th down decisions. Right. So that's something, last year you chalk it up to inexperience. This year it's like, I don't know. They punted from the 38. I would much rather try, which went out of the back of the end zone, by the way. I still have a lot of beef with our special teams. Not great. Again, warped by the Jim Harbaugh era. Jay Harbaugh, Chris Partridge were absolute dogs at coaching special teams, and Michigan have a top 3 special teams unit like every year, I think. But kicking, punting from the 38, that's a 55-yard field goal. We've seen Zavada do that. They talked about making a 70-yarder 2 weeks ago.
Right. Like, and here's my take on that too. Is Sharon Moore said in the press conference, like, I trusted my special teams guy to, tell me the line, whatever. Like, I like the idea of trusting in your coaches. I also think that you're the head coach and you end up making the call. And, I would go over in the middle of the game to go over to Dom. Hey, how you feeling right now? Do you think, if we get down to a 55-yarder, with the win, all this, like, I want to trust that guy, too. Right. So it's like,
yeah, you're the head coach. I think you need to make that decision. And I don't think that I'm sure behind closed doors, I'm sure these guys work hard. Right? I know they do. But what I see on Saturdays over the last, 14 games since the special teams coordinator has been here, I mean, Dominic Zavada is automatic, right? He's transfer coming in. You get credit for that, right? So that's good. Punting has been horrible. Tommy Doman fell off a cliff. To be fair, he looked pretty bad at Florida when I was watching that game on Saturday, which sucks because he was a stud in 23 for the first like half of the year. I don't know what happened.
Right. I don't.
But yeah, 18-yard net punt early in the game. I hated.
Well, and I think, to be honest, there too, that position, they should have went to the portal. They knew what they had in that room, and
they did. And then the guy left the team. They got the kid from Missouri, right?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and he left the team. So I don't know. But yeah, special teams continue to give me a lot of hesitation, a lot of concern, because that's been a big part of Michigan winning football games basically my entire life. Like, you go back to Lloyd Carr, that was a big point of emphasis. I feel like under Rich Rodriguez, they were not great. I don't remember under Brady Hoke. Dennis Norfleet was solid returning punts. I thought Samaj was better. At least I don't remember any balls bouncing like 20 yards behind him. Yeah, man, I don't know. And going back to some of the comments that Sharon makes, like, you gotta know how to deliver messages diplomatically and not shit on your quarterback room, because they may not be great, right? But God forbid something happens, they're probably not going to have a lot of confidence coming into a football game, knowing their head coach doesn't really believe in them. You can't say stuff like that. You need to put on a brave face.
Can I say something? This Thompson Age's tenure is phenomenal.
I saw you take a bite. Like, damn, jealous.
Mowing down another bite.
That's what you got to do to eat through the pain of last week's game.
Yeah. Shout out to Zingerman. Thank you for hosting me today. But yeah, I think, that's another thing. It's funny how much do we make fun of Jim Harbaugh for his post game, his press conferences and all facets, and he's just slow and methodical in his talking and awkward sounding and all this stuff. He never said anything that was detrimental to his team, and it always came out weird. Don't get me wrong, it was like the weirdest sound bites of all time, but he ultimately he said the right thing 9 times out of 10. And so I think, I'm not going to kill Sharon Moore for that. Right. I think that
he's a young head coach.
Yeah. He's a young head coach. He isn't. Listen, you want to go back to how many reps that Bryce Underwood's getting? How many reps at a press conference that Sharon Moore had? Not that many,
Yeah. I'm sure he'll learn from that kind of stuff. But yeah, because Jim coached these guys hard. You've told me what Ian Bunting and Jake Butt have told you about when Harbaugh first got there and how much hell it was.
Well, let me do a little plug. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you, but a little plug for Chris Wormley and our new podcast that we have, the Stadium We Made pod with Chris Wormley and Jordan Strack. They had Mo Hurst on last night. New episode's out now, so go check it out. But they were just talking about how Jim came in and literally tried to murder everybody and tried to get every single person to quit, on day one of when he got in there. So just wanted to give they had some great Harbaugh stories. Mo Hurst is the man too. So.
Yeah, ultimately, and we don't know what the practices are like compared to Jim under Sharon. And I know, from what we've heard, Jim kind of eased up a little bit and became more of a player's coach. And he's always been a player's coach, but probably didn't ride him as hard as he did in his first few years. But to be fair, you come off a 5-7 season, that's what you got to do in a rebuild situation. I'm sure you watched the Florida documentary. We all hate Urban Meyer, but hell of a football coach. That's what he did when he got to Florida. And when he got to Ohio State, you try to weed out the guys that don't want to be there, right? So, but yeah, I just think there's a lot of opportunity to grow from this. And again, I want to see continued improvements, not only just from the players, but from the coaches. I didn't think it was Wink's best day. But, again, I don't know how much of that was just, trying to stay in your rush lanes, not get upfield, not let Mateer escape and make plays on the run with his legs or with his arm. So you didn't see a lot of pressure coming in, which was disappointing because going in, they've had a lot of issues at offensive line already in this year with injuries for Oklahoma. So, I didn't think the secondary had the best day. I thought Jair played really well, but I thought there was a lot of busts and wide open guys. Even on that interception TJ had, that tight end was wide open. Might still be running if he had caught that ball. So, like to see a lot of tightening up defensively. And to your point, about me, wanting to throw the ball a bunch, like you got to get run game reps too. So you might need to go no huddle. You might just need to speed it up. Just get as many plays as possible. Like I'm being a little hyperbolic here, but like I really think you need to just like sprint and just, hey, Central, if they score, 60 on you, that'd be great. I'd really enjoy that. But like, sorry, but this is getting our team better.
I think that would also just be great for our confidence too. I think this team needs a little momentum. They need, you were waiting the whole minute, the whole Oklahoma game for like a flip of momentum at all, and it just never came. And so I think they need a little momentum going into Lincoln. You got Biff Poggi. Like I think I actually low-key love this situation right now. This is me trying to be like overly optimistic about not having your head coach, coach your team. But Biff is known to be a culture guy, known to be a player's guy. And so I think that there's a chance, I'm not going to say it's good to not have your head coach in Terrell Moore on Saturday, but it's just a chance for a little change of pace that can, it's the new sub that comes in sometimes, right? Or, the interim coach that comes in sometimes when a coach is fighting. There's a new wind. And I'm not saying that the wind is completely out of their sails right now. But I just don't think it's the worst thing ever to have Biff come in and be like, all right, here's, let's change the attitude for a minute here. Let's go. Let's get things on the, right train. So I'm actually low-key excited to see Biff. Also, I'm sad. Terrell Moore said he's going to be wearing sleeves on Saturday.
I was hoping for the cutoff with the cut, the low cut V that he used scissors on, even though he's worth like $100 million. Absolutely love Biff Poggi. He wasn't here in 23, but I do think he was a big part of Michigan's kind of renaissance as the associate head coach, working with Jim Harbaugh. And so excited to see Biff on the sidelines. That's a pretty cool story. His son played at Michigan. Like that's a cool story right there. So man, look, onward, right? Like that's got to be the mindset. That's the mindset I've got. I'm going to be ready Saturday morning, Maize and Blitz, Woodson whiskey, the bourbon. I'm going to be, again, maybe having, I'm going to probably have a couple beverages and maybe look at that Silverado with the 6.2 liter V8, the high country that we're going to have at the tailgate on Saturday. So I'm onward to the tailgate, to the game. And I'm that's how the team's got to be. Not the tailgate part, obviously. We know they got the cars from Highlands, so let's just focus on the game ahead and try to execute.
Talked to my guy Jason from Feldman yesterday. He said he's going to have his crew there rocking. I think that there may be some fans that take this game off, and I just don't like that.
It's not us.
No, it's not us. That's why if you come to the Blue Line 90 tailgate presented by Feldman Chevrolet, that is we're going to still be rocking it. So. I'm excited. We've got DJ Mainframe coming in this week to get the tunes rolling. Slow's Barbecue will be back. Again, we'll have camp there, the Camp Vodka Waters, which go down literally like water.
Especially in the Bongzilla.
Especially in the Bongzilla, and plenty of Woodson whiskey. For, we're starting to get into this like 60-degree weather. The Maize and Blitz, which is like a cinnamon apple pie type thing mixed with apple cider. I had it this past weekend. It is like you can't draw up a more perfect fall drink. So if the girls are going for the pumpkin spice lattes, like the boys are here for the Woodson whiskey Maize and Blitz.
Oh man, it's really good. And I'll tell you what, I lived through. Like I was born in 1995, right? So I was 2 in 97. Don't remember it. The first ever Michigan game, not the first, but like the defining Michigan game I remember as a kid was 2003 Ohio State, right? So I'm 8 years old. I'm like, oh, sweet. We just beat Ohio State. That's what we do, And I saw it once over the next, would that have been 18 years? So I can handle some adversity, man. That's what I'm saying.
We've
like,
been through it.
And a lot of fans have. And I feel like some of these fans are just like, it was cool to be a Michigan fan. I don't know, man. I be a fan, do what you want. I don't want to, poo-poo on anyone's fandom or whatever. But like, look, we've been through some really tough times, man. So it's okay. You got to persevere.
Listen, here's my thing too. It's not as bad as it seems. It's never as bad as it seems. And you're going to be okay. Listen, at the end of the day, we still have a freaking 5-star quarterback that can zip it. And I'll tell you what, we all made it through last year. Did we not? We made it through last year without a 40-yard pass for the whole freaking season. So,
you know what? Do you know what
we can do
tailgate I had the most fun at last year? Northwestern. 5-5 Michigan. It's cold. It's cloudy. It's a night game. I had the most fun at that tailgate. I don't know if it's because I'm a sicko. But like, there's a lot of light in the darkness of Saturday. So
you can choose to be happy and have optimism and be okay. Like, that's all right.
Yeah. And if they lose, then it doesn't affect your life, really. It's okay.
Well, it affects my feelings. Other than that, no. I mean, listen. At the end of the day, we're gonna be okay. It's never as bad as it seems. We're gonna come out. Get a 50-point win against Central Michigan. I would love to see that. Just come out and dominate on both sides of the ball. That's what I'm looking for on Saturday, and just get some juice back into this program. Because
I'll be bringing the juice, no matter what. Last year, Arkansas State, same thing. Ass kicked by Texas. Still went to the tailgate. Still had a good time. Still love watching the boys play. I mean, the Big Cat video. You only get so many football Saturdays in a lifetime, right? Well, why spend it being miserable?
Please,
like,
preach it.
I used to be that guy. I used to be real negative. I was a negative Nelly. And I think, winning 4 in a row over Ohio State, winning a national championship, the national championship is going to, live on forever. I don't know how long it's going to keep me feeling, it's all right. But for now, I'm still feeling pretty good, right? Like, it is what it is. The last true national champion, many people are saying, didn't back into the playoffs to win a national title. And we got a bright future, man. Like, just, again, this 25 class, this 26 class, like, just give Sharon some time. I need to do that too, because I get a little pissy, and then I'm like, I need to give him time. And I think he's the right guy for the job. So we're going to have a great time Saturday regardless. And, just hope the boys come out, making a stress-free Saturday, watch some college football, have some dips, after the Michigan game, get home, have some chips and dips, some beers. Like, it's the best time of year, man. So you only get so many of these, so enjoy it. Don't stress yourself out, because it's just not worth it.
I'm fired up.
That's my message to 23-year-old men. That's because Justin, if we did this show in 2017, brother, I might have had an aneurysm.
I'm glad that you're a little more mature now. We can get through this without any medical.
We're adults now.
Going down. We're so adults. But you brought me back there. I appreciate it. But all right. See you guys on Saturday. For us, you follow us at Blue by 90 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Blue by 90 Podcast on YouTube, and blueby90.com. Shout out Melvin Chevrolet. We appreciate you. Woodson Whiskey, Camp North Beach, all of it. Shout out Zingerman right here, baby. Appreciate you. Go Blue.
Go Blue.